a nice computer you got there.
All right, we're going live. As long as the may not work out, my oh. Okay. We're live. I'm gonna try to slide off. I think it's bright enough the way it is. And we're recording, which is good. So I guess we're going. We're live. I was just gonna see if I could pull up the chat as well. I don't know. I don't know how people are actually gonna watch this, but it's not gonna come up. Oh shoot. Okay, so I think the biggest plan is to live stream it. Then once it's finished, we'll probably leave the live stream up for a little bit while I edit the video down to a manageable video, and then we'll upload that and make the live stream unlisted then. So I have no idea how well this live stream will go. This is, I guess, a test live stream.
Right.
Almost. Actually, I can do this, and I can see if someone says something. And not that I'm expecting anyone to say anything. But all right, let's start off. So I have no idea how to start these.
Hey everybody, my name is Michael Coulter. My call is WHCI, Whiskey 8 Charming Idiot. Oh, I'm sorry, Charlie India. And I'm here to with Logan, and we're going to talk a little bit about how Hamvention went this year and what we're looking for next year, and just kind of get things kicked off because the next Hamvention will be here before you know it. So,
For sure.
Logan, you got any idea what the attendance was?
I think it was 34,000 or 35,000, was it?
It was 33,861 souls came in that place. And last year it was 32,472 people. And boy, we had spectacular weather. I don't think the weather could have been any better.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, and I know that I had mentioned on some of the newscasts that I've been on about Hamvention that we were planning on having excellent weather and it would only rain at night, and actually that happened. So we were really excited about that. Before we get too far into it, it's always important to thank our volunteers. Nearly 700 volunteers, Logan, in this event, and you were a volunteer as well. I saw you doing all sorts of things out there. And I think the volunteers this year had a really good attitude, really got things done. We had less complaints about things falling through the cracks. And believe me, I hear it when it happens, but we had very little bit of that. And to me, that's very successful because that way we can focus on the show and doing things correctly instead of going around and fixing all the little problems. So thank you to all the volunteers. And those of you who didn't volunteer, take a look at doing it next year. I know that there was a couple of groups that could have used a few more folks.
So what are the requirements to be a volunteer? Is it work 4 hours a day? Is that right?
Well, it's a total of 6 hours, but it really depends on the lead, the chairman of that particular committee, because there's certain things that they need to have done, and that time blocks are really important. So take a look at the committees. There's all kinds of committees, and we can talk about a few of them. I know golf carts is a big one. People love driving those golf carts, you know. But you actually have to go through training for that. And when it comes to Hamvention and insurance, and that's another thing I took care of, is getting the insurance for an event like this. We have to be very careful with when we have golf carts. So we actually have to go through training. People are signed off on the training, and they are told the importance of driving safely and being being cheerful to our guests and trying to make it really a personal, great experience for
Yeah.
our visitors. Now, did you ever drive golf carts?
I did not. I attempted to get a ride from a golf cart 4 times and got 1 ride, primarily due to the radios. But so I suspect next year I may have to get in on that course
Yeah.
and be able to drive myself around.
Well, yeah, not always that easy, but because we are limited in how many carts we can really get. But when you need one, just let people know ahead of time, and we can get that arranged. I know there were people. I know some of the people that gave forums and some of the other things that had to happen. They had to lug a lot of things from one place to another, and so we would get a hold of the golf cart committee and make an appointment for them to be picked up. So we do that for you. I'm sorry that happened to you.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
So, another interesting thing a lot of people didn't know about is that Sunday was free. And the neat thing about Free Sunday is that that's basically designed for people, within a maybe a 150, 200-mile radius of the event at the Greene County Expo Center. And that if you have friends or if people are interested in kind of coming to look and see what it's like, they can come in free on Sunday. They get a special ticket. You go to the ticket booth, but you can't turn in a ticket stub for an award, but you get to get in free and see what's going on. You may not have a license. It might be interested in it. So I think that's been a really a good idea. Did you know we did that?
I did know, only after though.
Okay.
Was there a lot of people who took us up on that
There
offer?
was a fair amount that did, yeah. And Sunday was just a beautiful. All 3 days, as we said, were beautiful. But that was a beautiful day, Sunday. And speaking of that, I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to go to Hare Arena when it was there.
No,
but God love them. The food there was always so expensive, and you were really limited on what you could get. And we're working hard with the fairgrounds people to get better choices of food. And believe me, that's really an important thing. That and keeping the restrooms clean. And I think that Rodney Rodney Keatle is the executive director of the fairgrounds. And boy, he does a fabulous job. He and his team, and we meet with him on a regular basis to try to make sure we have all the bases covered. Now, you helped us cover some of the forums this year, too, didn't you?
Yep. So my main role was the live stream. So we had 4 forum rooms, and our initial goal was to try to cover just 4. So instead of just 4 forums total, so there's 4 forum rooms, and each room has probably a handful a day, 5 to 8. I'm not sure the exact number, but going in, we were planning on only covering just 4 forums total: the DX, antennas. I can't remember the other 2, but we ended up finding a way to get more of them. So we were able to cover forum room 1 all day, 2 and 3 Friday and Saturday.
So did you get Karsten?
Yes. Yep. So
wasn't that a great forum? Wasn't it a great story?
Yeah, it was.
He was our amateur of the year.
Yeah, it was really cool. So that forum ended up working out okay. There were a few forums where we had audio issues, and a few forums where we had video issues, but it was a lot of work to make sure everything was just up in general. And we're hoping, we've thought about things to do different in the future for next year, and we're hoping to get nice audio, nice video for all 4 forum rooms next
How
year.
can people tie into the forums that were already shown? Where can they go find those?
So those are all uploaded to the DARA YouTube channel, the YouTube channel that you're probably watching on right now. So we have most of Saturday forums uploaded. A lot of the Friday forums we haven't actually uploaded yet. but I'm hoping that we'll get those out, this week. So
Did you get many of the ARRL forums?
we got a few. Yep. There was one or two. A lot of those forums were in forum room 3.
Right.
And forum room 3 had the most issues with forum room 3. Unfortunately. So
I wasn't aware of that. I mean, I was chairman of forums, and we tried to look at who was going to have the biggest draw, and we made some mistakes because there was one forum that in a great big room that seats 550. Now the forum rooms 1 and 2 seat about 550 apiece, and we had put in new in forum room 1 we put in these lot bigger monitors. But one of the things that we'll have to do for next year, we want to impress upon our presenters, try not to rely on a whole bunch of print on those monitors, because it's hard for people to see the fine print. Pictures, great. Some diagrams, great. But keep in mind that it's hard to get it on even a big monitor to see clear in that room. But but the lessons learned for the forums people was that we had a couple of groups that had standing room only in smaller forum areas, especially in forum room 4, which holds about 150, 175 people. Nice forum room, but we're going to switch that around next year if we have some of the same presenters, and I think we will, and to try to make sure everybody's comfortable in there.
Yeah, I think Hamsci.
Right, that was one I was thinking of. They had standing room only, and I thought, I wish we would have got them in a bigger room. Live and learn.
Live and learn.
First time I ever had forums. But one time, when I was the general chairman, I had to take it over because my brother, David, he was in charge, but he got very, very sick and he couldn't do it. But at any rate, I forgot about all that I might have learned back then, but I learned a lot this time as well. We kept a lot of good notes, and my partner in that, co-chair Chris Rissmiller, NAPEM, did a fabulous job as well. But I appreciate you jumping in and you guys live streaming that. It just adds I think a little bit more touch of class.
Yeah, for sure. I think we had about an average of 30 people viewing at any given time total for all 3.
Wow.
But we didn't really promote it, and there were people who were actively telling people there was no live stream. So I think next year, though, we'll definitely push it a lot harder. We're going to pre-share it a lot more. The biggest problem was that we didn't know we were going to really live stream anything until 4 days before. So I think it created a lot of...
Well, it's I know that was a project that was sort of up in the air.
Yeah.
But you definitely pulled it off. But I did hear a lot of good comments about forums, and that we had some really good forum presenters, and we're always looking for that. And then if people are looking at this and want to know how to do a forum, how do you apply? This year we have an application page on the Hamvention website, but we're not really going to begin looking at those until right after Christmas. And then it takes a few months to shuffle everything and put it all together. And I do want to mention that just because you had a forum this year doesn't mean you automatically get one next year. They're always reviewed, and we look at attendance and things like that. But by and large, I think we had some great presenters. I heard a lot of positives. I imagine you enjoyed some of them too when you were.
Yeah, I think the innovation forum was the most surprising one to people. It seemed like that one was a forum that most people came back and said, I didn't expect this to be such a good forum.
Really? So, that's good to hear. I indirectly got that set up with Chip Cohen, WO1YW, and he's an interesting guy. He invented fractal antennas, and I don't know how, we sort of became friends, and I talk to him on the radio now and then, and he's absolutely amazing. He's a real polymath. That guy is a great musician, he's a great scientist, and he's really smart. So when I talk to him, I just nod my head and smile and say, yeah, I think you're right. But at any rate, he put that thing together.
Okay.
He said, hey, how about if I get 2 hours? And he found some fabulous people to present. And I thought it was really, really great, and I'm grateful for him for his help. So another interesting, what you mentioned, I mentioned Karsten to you, and
Right.
What a story that guy had. That was one of the few forums I've ever been in where he got a standing ovation. A standing ovation. You know, for those of you who don't know, Karsten DARA is I think it's a Delta Mike 9 Echo Echo, and he's from Germany, but his family has a hotel in Germany, and so he gathers up all this radio equipment, first aid equipment, all kind of first aid stuff, as well as primarily radio gear, and then somehow gets it close to Ukraine. I'm not sure how he gets it in, but nevertheless, and it's to help the Ukrainian people. And he has brought back people from Ukraine, put them up at his hotel, as you saw in that video, and then helps them get their life together again. You know, I couldn't help but think when I was watching him talk is that here's a guy that comes in, he's from Germany, and he gives a talk in front of all these people in English. That's not his first language. And I don't know how many of us could go to Germany and do that. I've actually had the honor of, at Friedrichshafen, to give some talks over there, but I never did it in German. Anyway, then let's move on to we'll talk about the awards a little bit. And you got to go to the dinner as our photographer, an absolutely fabulous job you did on taking pictures. And I hope you got some of that food too. It was good.
Yeah, it was great food.
It's really interesting folks come to that, and you know, it's like the leaders of a lot of different organizations in amateur radio throughout the world. Even the National Institute of Amateur Radio from India, their executive director was there, and so that was it was a great event, and it's important that Hamvention, you know, honors some of the outstanding people in with awards. So even we're talking about forums a minute and the international people. We had an international gathering, which is on a Thursday night before Hamvention, and we invite people that we can usually find out from ticket sales who's coming in from another part of the world. And so we had a just a little, wasn't a big meal, but just, you know, finger foods and things, a greet and meet. And we had people there from, I don't know how many countries, was it 50, 60 countries that Diane Allnut was mentioning. She's the chair of that. But there was a group there from China. Wow. And on one of the forums was, and I don't know if you recorded it, was China amateur radio in China today. Did you happen to record that one?
I think we might have. I think that was on Friday, though. And
those guys, they spoke pretty good English. I'm always impressed. And then my friend Jack Gerbs was there, Whiskey Bravo 8 Sierra Charlie Tango. And so he's at that international dinner as well, or gathering. And he was poking me. He said, "How many of these guys have you worked on the radio?" So I said, "I think I've worked about 4 of them." And he was stunned, and he'd worked about that many too. Jack is a consummate CW guy. He's really good. His tested code speed is now like 42 words a minute. Just
wow,
amazing.
So what was the most remote country someone was from? Any of those like Oceania countries or anything like that?
Well, I had a good friend come in from Doha, Qatar. It's, you know,
okay.
It's right on the
next is Djibouti.
And
ish.
Well, it's near Saudi Arabia, and it's right on the Gulf there.
Right.
I've had a chance to go there about maybe 10 times.
Wow.
Made some really good friends there. And they love amateur radio there. Absolutely love amateur radio. But I'd say, you know, that was one of the farthest distances I think I saw anybody come from.
Okay.
So, but I'm sure there were others. And India's a pretty long ways too. I'm
sure.
Our friends came in from Hyderabad and New Delhi. And which I've been over there. Got to visit with them a few times. So at any rate, and moving on, next year we're going to have I think a pretty big surprise that we're not ready to announce it yet, but will be coming up.
Okay.
And we'll do a little video about that, or a live stream. You call it live stream now, right? Is that the right terminology?
Anything.
I don't want to. I know that being an old guy, it's easy for me to verbally carbon date myself.
We'll do a video of it. We'll do a video of it.
So I want to remind people who are watching this, if you got friends coming or if you're coming, if you're going to do any camping, make sure you get your reservations in. If you want to stay at Fairgrounds, get them in now. I don't know where he's at with the reservation list, but get him in now. But then the number 2 place to camp, I think, in the area is at Caesars Creek State Park, straight south of Xenia. Beautiful drive, and they do have some full hookups, but all the rest of the spots do have electric. And it's a very nice campsite. Easy, beautiful drive into Xenia, and that I would recommend that. But I recommend really getting into your reservations pretty soon. I mean, if you're going to come, at least you just make your reservations. If you're going to cancel them, you can cancel them later, I guess. But I like knowing that I'm going to get there and not wait a week before. I guess I am going to go. And I wish I would have made reservations, because it doesn't cost a lot or anything to cancel them, most likely. Also, I do want to thank a lot of people in Greene County who helped us, and that would be the police department, sheriff's department especially. Helped us with traffic. I know you're going to say, but Friday was a pretty bad traffic day. We did have a hiccup there. But we took care of it the next day. And there's going to be hiccups now and then. We're a volunteer organization, and we're going to make mistakes. You can let us know when we make mistakes. A lot of people do. But what we're going to do is fix it and get it better, because our club is, that is our mission, is to present a premier radio show year after year that's recognized worldwide as a very quality program. So, we did have a couple of small hiccups like that. And I get some emails about little smaller issues. But by and large, the emails this year have been really good. Like, great show, good job, tell the team. And so we have been. It's been fabulous. And I want to talk about prizes. Did you win any big prizes?
Every year.
You win every year?
I forget to put my ticket in. I show up and immediately start working, and I almost never get a chance to stop long enough to go to prizes. So this is the second year in a row I've actually won nothing, because I've not. You have to enter to win usually, and oh,
I'm good.
You have to attach the win pop. It's okay. So I did not win anything, but
actually, I think in the job that I have, being on the board plus being so involved with Hamvention, I don't think it would go good if I won a prize. So I don't turn a ticket in either.
That's all good.
But yeah, and I win because I like to see a successful event. Because this is my club, and I've been involved with this many years, and I love seeing it be successful. And it's been going on since 1952, and I think we basically stand on the shoulders of a lot of the hard-working men and women who did this and ran this and tried really hard before I ever got here or you ever got here. And our job is to continue it, make it better, pass it on to you and your buddies.
For sure.
So, the prizes this year, fabulous prizes. We got to thank DX Engineering. I mean, they had just amazing amount of prizes, and they shipped them all out too. So, and thanks to them. And I know Yezu had a big prize this year. A lot of vendors had really good prizes, and that's been. We are so grateful for that. And I know that the attendees really like that too. So, that's why it's important to come to Hamvention, because of a couple of reasons. People, if you come and spend a little money at Hamvention, then the vendors have money for investment for next year. They can continue to stay in business, and that's important. And we talk a lot about Huntsville's coming up. That's a big ham fence, a big ham fest, and we want them to be successful. A group of us are going there, and a group of us went down to Orlando, and we're all friends. I mean, we all get along, we all support each other, and there's a reason for that. Is because if they're successful, we're going to be successful, because amateur radio is successful
For sure.
and that's our philosophy. So the prizes and the prize booth team, they go out and solicit that, and that's a bunch of work. I'll thank those guys. One of our more thankless jobs, you want to guess what that is for our volunteers?
Man, probably security. I don't know.
Parking.
Parking.
Parking is actually the toughest one, because those guys they don't hardly get to see any of the show. They're out in the periphery, making sure that the parking flow is correct and it's going well.
Right. Yep.
And that's really a tough group. When I say tough, it's a tough group to be a part of. But I don't want to if you're thinking about being a volunteer for parking, that'd be great. Help them out for 6 hours, then go in and immerse yourself in the show. And parking actually starts before the show, and so take a look at that one. But that's a group that could use more help. But I certainly appreciate that team. You mentioned security, and that was next on my list.
A mind reader.
You are, right? My mind is easy to read, So, have you ever been on security?
I have not. I've only done Livestream. So.
How are we doing on this? Are we okay for time?
We're as long as you want to go.
Okay. Should be, but more in a couple more hours.
Good.
No, I'm just kidding.
I think someone's going to join us here soon too.
So when we talk about
security.
My God. Train came in, but the boxcars were empty. Anyway.
It's all good.
Anyway, that is a very difficult job, and we're working hard at getting that. Improve that every year. That is a lot of coordination, and fortunately, we had a Sean Prawl, who's a retired major from the Greene County Sheriff's Department. He was our chairman this year. Did a fabulous job at that. Flea market. Did you get the flea market?
I did a little bit. Yep.
Well, tell me about it.
I mean, there's lots of stuff there to buy. I didn't end up buying anything just because I didn't have time to carry it around or anything like that. But it's always crazy to see just how much everything there is there, variety.
Yeah.
How many people are there selling stuff? So.
I hardly get out there for that stuff. I mean, I hardly get to see the show, but I'm not complaining. I'm glad the show goes on. But flea market, they were almost full, weren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
They weren't. It was close. And I didn't hear a lot of complaints about flea market, and everything went pretty smoothly. And from what I understand, and I know that team worked really hard to get that going. There's another group, the Lines and Signs group. That group has to get all the flea market spots marked off. So everybody has a spot and it's labeled and all that, and that takes quite a bit of time, quite a bit of energy to get that done, and then make sure they have all the signs and all that correct too. So excellent. Where do you see the future of amateur radio?
Ooh, the future of amateur radio.
Yeah.
I really think the largest future will most likely be two things, in my opinion at least. It's going to be space related, so a lot of like ISS, that kind of things, AMSATs, because I feel like that's a lot of people are very interested into that, and it's really hard to be in it without not also being in amateur radio, if that makes sense. Because it's so unreachable, right? That the only way to really be in that kind of field is to be in amateur radio. And I think the other big thing is going to be emergency communication services. People who want to make sure that, if any kind of like tornadoes or other disasters happen, that their community is ready. Because if cell towers go down, that destroys so much of people's intercommunication. And they want they'll want to make sure that they have the ability to communicate, because it's very important to make sure that emergency services can make sure they're where they need to be. If things are blocking the road, they can take care of that kind of stuff, etc. So I'm not really I guess a visionary in the field, but I think those will probably be two of the larger pools of interest, I think.
I think I agree with that. I also think that we talk about do we focus on youth, bringing youth in, and then how do you find youth? Is youth somebody from 10 years old to 16 or 18, or is it from 10 years old to 45? I think that one of the things I think is important for us to do is to take a look at how we're bringing amateur radio, how we're marketing to people about amateur radio. There's youth can get into it. When I say youth, high school, junior high, even younger than that. But then college group can get into that, and that's kind of when you got into it, right? Through your college experience.
Well, my friend of the college, Jeremy.
Right, but still,
so,
you that's where you met him, and
sure.
And that's kind of how you got involved in it, because you really love technical stuff. And,
yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, the main reason we were getting into it was primarily for information security side of things, because there's a lot of technology out there, especially like embedded systems, things like that use radio, and so when we kind of look at it, we're not looking at like, HF, tracker, 10-4, but more of like little devices that are sending data back to each other. Like, so it's we're basically looking at autonomous systems that are communicating. So
that's kind of my point. You get another group in there, another like age group who's just probably like you, very well educated, but want to use it for something, and then kind of branch out and wow, I can use a lot of these tools I learned through amateur radio.
Yeah,
and the Hamside group is a pretty good example of that. And then I see that also not only those groups, but you have a lot of people that are becoming empty nesters, let's say. And they're trying to figure out, okay, I raised my kids. I was sort of interested in it, but I had these kids and got distracted. I don't know how many times I've talked to guys and said, well, I was into amateur radio, I was interested in it, and then life got in the way. Life meaning kids and work and all that. And that slows down, and they get a chance to really focus and get into it again. And I think these are all categories that we need to look at. I don't think it should just be one particular category. I think if we have the opportunity to look at it, the newly retired, or people with empty nesters, the kids have just left, or there's so many opportunities. Even the prepper movement, these guys really get into it. I learn a lot from watching some of their YouTubes. And with the age of what's happening on Livestream and YouTube right now, it just blows me away what opportunities that we have, and the radios that we have, these software-defined radios that people put attachments onto. You can watch a whole spectrum and then see everything and record that whole spectrum, and then go back to it and then say, well, what was that conversation here? What was that conversation there? Totally amazing stuff. And then being able to, I remember when I was a kid and tuning around, and that was, God, last century. But I tuned up and down the shortwave band, and just trying to figure out all these sounds, this. I said, what is that? There's some kind of teletype machine. How are they passing information on that? Why can't I know what that is? And interestingly enough, when I was in Qatar, I talked to the founder, who was actually one of the was an Emir's cousin or something like that in Qatar. We had dinner together, lunch together one day. And I told him, I said, when I was a kid and I'd listen to amateur radio, I could probably was listening to your language and your people talking. I didn't know what you're talking about, but I wanted to know. And he goes, that's what I did too. He would go and find a shortwave radio. And it was funny. 2 different parts of the world, totally different cultures, but had that same love of things. But looking at the technology right now, where you can visually see what's happening on the radio instead of just you watch that dial and it moves up and down.
Yeah.
And the kits are now getting, the kits were pretty exciting when I was a kid. I remember building a Night Kit R55A receiver, and I was just so excited to get that thing. But now they've got, the stuff that you can build now and learn from is even, just even more outstanding.
For cheap too.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff would be so expensive like 20 years ago. You can get those SDRs now for, $20.
So that's where I see amateur radio going, and I think that it's important for us to keep. I think a lot of the YouTube people doing such a fabulous job, like yourself, getting information out, communication out, and we just have to keep doing that. We talk about Hamvention and the opportunities there. Hamvention is sort of the gathering point. It's sort of like in the days of old, the rendezvous. After a year of being out in the wilderness, all these people come together. And for me, it was pretty exciting for having done this for years and years. And people come in and you see people you haven't seen in maybe a year, maybe 2 years, maybe longer. People you've talked to on the radio, and you never really met with them face to face. And I heard those kind of stories when I was younger, and I thought, oh yeah, right, that's really true. And when you stick with it, you'll meet more and more people, and I think it's just an amazing fraternity or sorority, either one, that we belong to. It's not. It's to me, it's more in the hobby. It's almost an obsession. What do you think?
Yeah,
What do you think about Hamvention? You first went to it. What did you think?
Man, I thought it was really cool. It was much bigger than I was expecting because I'd never been to an amateur radio convention before Hamvention. I didn't know Hamvention had. I didn't know it even existed until I had started going to DARA. So showing up, that was the first time I even heard about it. So I was so surprised there was something like that so close. And it was way bigger than I was expecting. There, such a vast number of people from all over the world and stuff like that. And I think it's really cool that they all kind of conjugate here. All kind of come together and.
Would you say conjugate or congregate?
Conjugate.
I thought we were doing English. We're going to conjugate. I'm sorry.
No. I probably did say conjugate, but I meant congregate.
I'm just.
No, you're.
I really appreciated a chance to sit down and get to talk with you a little bit. I don't know what happens with this, if you're going to get questions later, but or we just send this out. This is a new thing for us for Dayton Amateur Radio Association, Hamvention, to do these, and this is the brainchild here. Logan is the one who came up with this, and I think am I your first guinea pig on this?
Yes, you are.
I'm truly honored to do that. For a young guy like that to find some old frosted flake to do it with, I'm really happy to be here, and I love Hamvention as you do. So
yeah, well, I'm hoping that we can maybe do it once a quarter. That'd be my goal. So that way people we can get information out from our stream. So instead of people having to go to other streams to make information here or there,
I love it.
They can come right to the source. We can actually announce things, and let people know what's going on. Do some stuff ahead of time, so that way to hopefully curb a lot of questions that sometimes we get. Oh, where's Forum Room 4 at? I highly doubt it's gonna do anything. But that'd be the hope is that
Where do you put your where do I put my tickets? Where's the prize barrel? Where's room 4?
yeah.
You know?
So I'm hoping we can maybe cover some of that stuff,
Yeah.
and hopefully maybe not everybody, but at least 4 or 5 people they'll know where the ticket barrel is at because they watched the Hamvention ticket barrel video.
So for those of you watching this, I don't know, when you watch it or whatever, but I am good on QRZ. My email's on there, and it's Whiskey 8 Charlie India WHCI, and just look it up, and then you can email me any question you have, or I even take negative comments, and it's okay, because my philosophy is you take a slamming and you keep on hamming. So thanks, Logan, for having me on your first one.
First one.
I hope to be on another one. And 7-3, everybody.
73. We're still alive. We'll have to end the live stream, though. So I'm just letting you know. Save all your negative comments until I hit end. No, I'm just joking.